Hi everyone, it's Elise from Kit and Clowder, and today I'm going to be sharing with you how I colour up the gorgeous Cordelia from Craft and Kimmy. I've already coloured up her skin and hair just to save some time, and today I'm going to be working on her tail. I'll show you the technique that I'm going to do. This is an image that I've coloured up previously. It's Narissa by Craft and Kimmy. So I'm just going to do something similar in her tail here with a stippling effect, which is lots of little dots. And the colours I'm going to do is a purple gradiating into a blue, so how we've got the green going into a yellow. Okay, so my first step is I'm going to start with the purples out in this corner, and I'm going to gradiate that into the blues. So the colours that I'm using today for purple are V000, V01, V04, V06 and V09. There's a lot of colours here in the purple, as it just really helps to get a nice gradation. So I'm getting my lightest colour here, which is my V000, and I'm just doing little dots on her tail. Just using the really tip of my marker. They're just really fine dots. And I'm just leaving the space here white. And I'm going to follow the contours of the mermaid's tail with the dots. I'm just going to do a little bit of shading around this part here as it's sitting forward from the tail. Okay, once you're happy with this shape, get your next colour. My next darkest is V01, and I'm doing the same thing but not bringing the dots as far as the previous colour. And I'm holding my marker upright so I can get a really fine dot. And I'm still following the curve of her tail that the artist has drawn. Alrighty, my next step is I'm getting my next marker colour, which is V04. And I'm doing the same thing, I'm just not bringing the dots out as far as I did with the previous colours. So depending on the colour combination that you're using, you might not be using as many markers as I am. So you can just skip the steps accordingly to how many markers you have. It will still work if you're using, say, 3 markers. My next marker is VO6. I'm doing the same thing. This is my favourite purple colour combination. The colours look really beautiful and they're all blended out. And you can use less markers, but each marker, like the VO4 is very different in colours to the VO6, has a different tone. So I do like to put it in there just to add a bit of a different colouring. Okay, now I'm getting my darkest colour, which is my VO9. And I'm doing that just towards the side. So basically you can see that we've created a shading technique on her tail. So again, my light source is coming from this top right here. So this part of her tail is the darkest. So that's where I'm applying my darkest colour. And again, still using the tip. You want it to look like dots, as it's like scales, rather than blending it into each other. So you do want to do really fine dots. I'm just going around that tail again as well. And I use this technique for lots of things as well. I've used it on dragons and all different things that are a little bit different to colour. Okay, once you've gone in with your darker marker, you're going back down to your lightest. So I'm getting my VO6 and I'm going over the top of the darkest marker and bringing it out a little bit further. So even though you're doing the little dots, it still helps to blend the colour as you're moving the colour a little bit and softening those dots. Okay, now I'm grabbing my VO4 and I'm doing the same thing, just extending the colour out and going over the other two colours. I'm just blending out that shading a little bit. Alrighty, my next step is I'm getting my VO1 and again doing the same thing, so blending that colour out. I'm going over the whole thing as well to soften those darker dots. Okay, my next step from here is I'm getting my lightest colour, which is my V000, and again blending it out. And I'm still leaving this patch here white, as that's where I'm going to go in with my other colour. I'm just dabbing the colour between the lightest and the darkest here, so you break up that line a little bit, and you're helping to sort of smudge the colour so it doesn't really look like dots. Okay, my next step is now I would like to gradiate it into the blue. So I'm going to get my lightest blue colour, which is BG000, and I'm dotting it in this white section. Just bring it down here as well. Alrighty, the next step is I'm getting my next colour, which I'm using BG01, and I'm just going to do it on this side. Even though your shadow is coming from this side, the reason I'm doing it over here is so that the lighter blue will gradiate into the darker into the lighter purple, sorry. So you should get a nice blend of the colours once they're all laid down. Now I'm getting my next darkest colour, which is my BG05, and again laying the colour close to this side of her tail. Now I'm getting my BG09, which is my darkest colour, and again just laying the colour really close to the edge. Now going back through the colours, so my BG05, and you're starting to blend it out. So just dabbing the colour down on top and bringing it a little bit more forward. Now I'm getting my BG01, doing the same thing. You can start to extend it a little bit up towards the purple. And separate your dots as well. You don't want it to look like a line. You can do some dots outside of the line. And now I'm getting my lightest colour, which is my BG01. Sorry, my BG000. And I'm pulling the dots into the purple, so they overlap. My next step from here is I'm getting my V01, which was my second lightest colour. I'm just extending a few more dots over here just to darken it a little bit. Now I'm going to get my lightest colour, my V000, and now I'm bringing the dots over the top of the blue transition. I'm just doing a few sort of splattered down this really dark section, almost like it's reflecting the purple. And now I'm just getting my marker and I'm sort of blending in a tiny little bit over where it's really dark, so there's no sort of white spots along that line. Okay, now that's her main body of her tail done, and now I just have to do these fins. So the way that I do the fins is really similar to how I'd colour pleats in clothing. So I'm going to get my lightest purple, which is my V000, and I'm going to come to the underside of the lines that the artist has drawn. And I'm only going to take it about 3/4 of the way. I'm just using like a flicking motion here. And I'll do these ones, staying to the right of the lines, sorry, the left of the lines, as our light source is coming from the right. Okay, now I'm going to go in with my darkest colour, which is my V09, now that I'm happy with how I've mapped those out. And I'm just sticking really to the edge, right underneath, and flicking out. Going to do these ones over here, staying to the left. And I always extend my line a little bit further than the artist's line. Just do a little bit of shading around there. Okay, my next step is I'm getting my second darkest colour, which is my V06. I'm just blending out that line. So just going over the top of it and extending it that little bit further to blend it out. And again, only going sort of 3/4 of the way. My next step is I'm getting my next lightest colour, V04, and I'm doing the same thing, blending out. Okay, now I'm getting my V01. Again, the same thing, blending out. I'm being a little bit more heavy-handed with the V01. I'm sort of pushing the marker down just to blend out that edge a little bit. Now I'm getting my V000 and going over the whole thing and really blending it out now. just to add a little bit more depth, I'm just going to go in with my darkest colour again, right on the tips of those pleats. Just darken it up. And what that does is it gives you a really nice contrast between this darkest part and the highlight. Okay, now we're ready to start on gradiating into the blue in the part of her fins. The colours that I'm going to be using, again, just to refresh your memory, BG000, BG01, BG05 and BG09. Okay, so my first step, I'm grabbing my BG000 and I'm just going back to the underside of those pleats and pulling the colour through, and I'm blending it into where the purple is. Just laying down a bit of colour. Now I'm grabbing my darkest colour, which is my BG09. And again, I'm coming through just under those lines and pulling the colour through. I don't want to add much of the darker colour here. My darkest colour is really that purple. Okay. Now I'm grabbing my BG05 and I'm just blending it out. Now I'm grabbing my BG01, doing the same thing. Pull a bit of that colour through over here. Now I'm getting my lightest colour, which is my BG000, and again just blending out, and I'm pulling that colour down into the purple, which helps to create that gradient. So where the two colours cross over, you'll get the gradient of colour. I'm just going to go in and grab my darkest colour, my BG09, and again I'm just going on the underside of those lines and just darkening up. I'm just going to turn my page around so I can flick away from myself so I can just make sure I'm getting a much finer line. I'm just going to blend that out a little bit more. I just want the dark colour to be a little bit darker. So grabbing my BG05. I'm pulling that BG05 into the fins as well. Now my BG01 blending out. And lastly, my BG000, and pulling that colour down into the purple. And just if you want to just soften up that gradient between the two, I get my lightest purple, my V000. I'm just going to blend back into the blue. You can see we just get a bit more of a variation in the colour where the two colours meet. Alrighty, now that's her tail all done. If you've got any questions, please just let me know. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.